The purpose of this video is to teach you some basic things about the organelle, the chloroplast. The chloroplast is shown in this picture of a plant cell in 3 different locations. One of the unique things about the chloroplast is when it comes to plant and animal cells, it's one of the organelles that's only found in plant cells. There are some other things, like some protists that are photosynthetic, that do have some chloroplast, but in the plant cell animal cell comparison, they're only found in the plant cells. Another thing that's unique about them is their color. They are actually green. The actual chlorophyll inside of them is what gives them their color. Everything else is kind of arbitrary. Like, for example, the peroxisomes are portrayed in here as being purple. The nucleus is portrayed as being purple. Those things don't actually have any coloration to them, but the chloroplast is accurate. That is actually green. That's what gives plants their green color, is the chloroplast inside of the individual cells. And when we look at some plant cells in class, you'll actually be able to see that, the green spots inside of them, which make up the chloroplasts. To take a closer look at the chloroplast itself. Blow this one up. This is kind of the cartoony version of it, which is always sort of a good place to start. There are 2 parts to it, which are pointed out on here. The space on the inside, there's just like fluid-filled space inside of here. That is called the stroma. Oh, I guess white was not a good call for that one. And then down here at the bottom, the ones that almost look like stacks of little green coins, or I think they look like green Nilla wafers on top of each other, those are called the grana. And those are just the 2 separate parts of the inside of the chloroplast. There is a section, like it said before, on that diagram back here, that's called the thylakoid. That's where photosynthesis is actually taking place. We're going to spend a whole chapter on photosynthesis later on in the year, and that's when we'll get into those kinds of details. The last thing I want to show you is a transmission electron image of chloroplast. I always like to kind of show the cartoony images because I think they're somewhat helpful, but I think it's also nice to see what it really looks like under the microscope, like what scientists are actually seeing. So this would be one from a transmission electron microscope, because remember, those are the ones we have to cut things very, very thinly, whereas like a scanning electron microscope will kind of show us the outside. Remember, like I said to you, it is actually green, so the color here is actually relevant. The thing I want to point out is what looks like little tiny ripples going across the inside of the chloroplast. This is significant because the chloroplast is unique compared to many of the other organelles because it has 2 membranes. It has a membrane around the outside of it, but then it also has this like folded up membrane on the inside that you can see here. This increases the surface area on the inside of it, and it gives the chloroplast more room to complete the process of photosynthesis, that's its function for the cell. This is where photosynthesis takes place. This is where plants are taking that light energy and they're combining that together with water and carbon dioxide in order to make oxygen for us to breathe, which for them is really just like a waste product, and most importantly, sugar for the plant. So that's like the plant's whole purpose of going through the process of photosynthesis. But that's where all of that stuff is happening. It's all going on inside of the chloroplast here. So we'll get into those details, like I said, a little bit more later on in the year. The last thing to talk about now are just some unique features of the chloroplast. There's a couple unique things to talk about here. The first one is it's the organelle that does photosynthesis. The next thing is that it has 2 membranes. So this is unique. The only other one that has multiple membranes is going to be the mitochondria. And when we talk about things at the end of the chapter with the whole endosymbiotic theory and like where the first cell came from, that's going to be a very important piece of evidence. Another one that goes along with that is that the chloroplast has its own DNA, separate from the rest of the cell. So most of the DNA for the cell is in the nucleus. The chloroplast has its own, and once again, the mitochondria also has its own DNA. And then one of the last things for this one is that it's found in plant cells. It's something that animal cells do not have. So those are just some unique features. I always want you to know like the function that the organelle has. So that would be this one. Its function is to go through the process of photosynthesis, but some of these unique features are very important as well. So hopefully you learned a few things about the chloroplast here. I will talk about this one a little bit more in class later on in the week. Thank you for watching.